Alien screams echoed through the Citadel's council chamber as a flickering holoprojector displayed the ancient, moon-sized Omega dreadnought. The humans just leaned back in their chairs and smirked. "We're all going to die. We need to run," a guttural reptilian voice cried out as the Lizardman ambassador slammed his fist on the table. His scales stood on end as raw fear pulsated through him. "The energy field. It's too much. I can't—" The insectoid representative fell out of her chair, her mandibles clicking together as she trembled on the ground. Michael Richardson, a grizzled human veteran in his mid-40s, surveyed the chaos with an amused expression. He'd seen worse during his tours of duty in the Andromeda campaign. Hell, he'd caused worse. As pandemonium consumed the council chamber, the human ambassador, a stern woman with steel-grey hair, raised her hand. The room fell silent, save for the whimpers of the terrified aliens. "It seems," she began, her voice cool and collected, "that we have a situation on our hands. An Omega dreadnought, the most powerful weapon in the known universe, has been discovered, and if we don't do something about it, we're all fucked." She turned to Michael, her eyes narrowing. "Mr. Richardson, you've been called here because you're the best of the best. Your record speaks for itself. We need you to assemble a team of humans to infiltrate that dreadnought and neutralize it before anyone else gets their hands on it." Michael leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table. "And why should I risk my neck for a bunch of spineless aliens?" The ambassador's lips curled into a smile. "Because, Mr. Richardson, if that dreadnought falls into the wrong hands, it won't just be the aliens who suffer. Earth and every human colony in the galaxy will be nothing more than a memory." Michael sat back, his jaw clenched. He knew she was right. He'd fought too hard, seen too many good men and women die, to let some ancient weapon wipe out everything he'd ever known. "All right," he said, standing up, "I'll do it. But I'm going to need a team of the toughest, meanest, most batshit crazy humans you can find. And you better pray to whatever gods you aliens believe in that we succeed. Because if we don't, we're all fucked." As Michael strode out of the council chamber, he was approached by Wezen, a high-ranking Xindi diplomat. The alien's face was twisted into a sneer, his eyes filled with disdain. "You really think a primitive species like yours can handle this?" Wezen hissed. "You'll be dead before you even set foot on that dreadnought." Michael just smirked, his eyes glinting with a dangerous light. "That's why they called me, isn't it?" he said, before pushing past the stunned diplomat and heading off to assemble his team. He knew it would be a suicide mission. But then again, when had that ever stopped him before? The fate of the galaxy was at stake, and only the humans had the balls to save it. Everyone else had run away screaming, but not them, not the humans. They were going to show the universe what they were made of or die trying. Michael wasted no time assembling his crack team of human operatives. He needed the best of the best for this suicide mission, and he knew just where to find them. First on the list was John Maverick Davis, a hotshot pilot who could fly anything with wings and some things without. He'd once outmaneuvered an entire squadron of Zorgonian fighters while flying a cargo freighter full of live chickens. The man was a legend. Next up was Marcus Tank Johnson, a massive ex-marine who looked like he could bench press a small moon. He'd fought in some of the bloodiest battles of the Andromeda campaign and had the scars to prove it. He was also a crack shot with any weapon you put in his hands. For stealth and infiltration, there was no one better than Oliver Ghost Smith. The man could disappear in a crowded room and reappear behind you with a knife to your throat before you even knew he was there. He'd once infiltrated a reptilian fortress and stolen their battle plans right out from under their scaly noses. Dr. Emily Doc Reeves was a brilliant xenobiologist who knew more about alien physiology than most aliens did. She'd spent years studying the various species of the galaxy and had a knack for finding their weaknesses. She was also a skilled medic, which would come in handy if things went south. Finally, there was Lena Hacker Ivanova, a computer expert who could crack any system in the known universe. She'd once hacked into the Galactic Council's mainframe just to prove she could. With her on the team, they'd have access to any information they needed. Together, they were Omega Squad, the most elite team of human operatives ever assembled. They boarded a state-of-the-art stealth ship provided by the Council and set course for the Orion Nebula, where the dreadnought had been discovered. As they flew through the inky blackness of space, Michael gathered the team in the ship's briefing room. He pulled up a holographic display of the dreadnought, its massive form filling the room. "This is what we're up against," he said, his voice grim. "An Omega dreadnought, the most powerful weapon ever created. It's got enough firepower to wipe out entire star systems." The team exchanged nervous glances, but Michael pressed on. "Our mission is simple. Get inside that thing and shut it down before anyone else can get their hands on it. We'll be facing some serious obstacles, including an energy field that can induce fear and panic in anyone who gets too close." Doc leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "I've been studying the data we have on the dreadnought," she said. "I think the energy field might be some kind of defense mechanism, created by the builders to keep anyone from getting too close." Michael nodded. "That's a good theory, Doc. We'll need to find a way to counteract it if we're going to have any chance of success." Suddenly the ship's alarms blared to life. "Captain, we've got incoming!" Maverick shouted from the pilot's seat. "It's a Xindi warship, and they're headed straight for us." Michael's eyes narrowed. The Xindi were a ruthless species, known for their aggression and their advanced technology. What were they doing out here, so close to the dreadnought? As if in answer to his question, a familiar face appeared on the view screen. It was Wesen, the Xindi diplomat who had confronted Michael back on the Citadel. "Well, well, well," Wesen sneered. "If it isn't the humans come to claim the dreadnought for themselves, I'm afraid I can't let that happen." Michael's jaw clenched. "Wesen, you slimy bastard. I should have known you'd try to stab us in the back." Wesen just laughed. "You humans are so predictable. Always thinking you're the center of the universe. Well, not this time. The dreadnought is mine, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." With that, the Xindi warship opened fire, its weapons tearing through space towards the human vessel. But Maverick was ready, his hands flying over the controls as he sent the ship into a dizzying series of evasive maneuvers. "Hold on tight," he yelled as the ship bucked and spun, the inertial dampeners struggling to keep up. Tank was already at the weapons console, his massive hands gripping the controls as he returned fire. The ship's advanced weaponry sliced through the Xindi shields like a hot knife through butter, causing explosions to blossom across the enemy vessel's hull. But the Xindi ship was far from defeated. It unleashed a barrage of missiles that streaked towards the human ship, their warheads glowing with deadly intent. "Brace for impact," Michael shouted as the missiles slammed into the ship's shields, sending shockwaves reverberating through the hull. The ship shuddered and groaned but held together. Maverick and Tank worked in perfect unison, dodging and weaving while returning fire with deadly accuracy. The Xindi ship was taking a beating, its hull pockmarked with scorch marks and gaping holes. Finally, with a burst of brilliance, the Xindi ship's engines exploded, sending the vessel careening off into space. The human ship had emerged victorious, but there was no time to celebrate. "Captain Wesen's escaping," Ghost called out from his station. "He's taking a shuttle and heading straight for the dreadnought." Michael slammed his fist on the console. He'd underestimated Wesen, and now the slimy bastard had a head start, but he wasn't about to let him win. "Maverick, lay in a course for the dreadnought," he ordered. "We've got to get there before Wesen does." The pilot nodded, his fingers flying over the controls. The ship leaped forward, its engines straining as it pushed towards the ancient warship. Michael turned to his team, his eyes blazing with determination. "This just got a whole lot more complicated," he said, "but we're not about to let some rogue Xindi beat us to the punch. We're Omega Squad, and we're going to show the galaxy what humans are made of." The team nodded, their faces set with the same grim determination. They knew the stakes, knew that the fate of the entire galaxy hung in the balance. But they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, and emerge victorious. As the ship raced towards the dreadnought, Michael felt a surge of pride. He had assembled the best team in the galaxy, a team of humans who would stop at nothing to get the job done. They were going to show the universe what they were capable of, or die trying. As the stealth ship approached the ancient dreadnought, the crew of Omega Squad stared in awe at the massive, imposing structure. However, their attention was quickly drawn to a small shuttle, careening out of control as it neared the warship. "That's Wesen's shuttle," Ghost exclaimed, pointing at the viewscreen. "What the hell is he doing?" As they watched, the shuttle was suddenly engulfed in a shimmering field of energy emanating from the dreadnought. The small craft began to shake violently, its hull buckling under the immense pressure. "The energy field," Doc whispered, her eyes wide with horror. "It's tearing his shuttle apart." Moments later, the shuttle exploded in a brilliant flash of light, scattering debris across the void of space. The crew of the stealth ship sat in stunned silence, the gravity of the situation sinking in. "Hacker, we need a way to bypass that field," Michael said, his voice steady despite the grim scene they'd just witnessed. "We can't let what happened to Wesen happen to us." Hacker nodded, her fingers already flying across her console. "I'm on it, Captain. Just give me a minute." As Hacker worked, the rest of Omega Squad began to prep their gear for boarding the dreadnought. Tank checked his weapons, while Ghost and Doc went over the schematics of the ancient warship, trying to familiarize themselves with its layout. "I think I've got it," Hacker exclaimed, drawing everyone's attention. "The field can be temporarily disrupted by a precise electromagnetic pulse. It'll give us a brief window to get inside." Michael nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Good work, Hacker. Maverick, take us in. Omega Squad, get ready to move." The stealth ship glided towards the dreadnought, its hull shimmering as Hacker's EMP burst forth, disrupting the energy field long enough for them to slip through. As they touched down on the warship's hull, the team exchanged nervous glances, knowing that they were about to step into the unknown. The interior of the dreadnought was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. The corridors were vast and labyrinthine, filled with technology that seemed to defy explanation. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, pulsing with an eerie light that cast long shadows across the floor. "Stay sharp," Michael warned as they moved deeper into the ship. "We have no idea what we're dealing with here." Suddenly, the sound of weapons fire filled the air, and a group of heavily armed Xindi commandos emerged from the shadows, led by a very much alive and vengeful Wesen. The Xindi diplomat's face was twisted with rage, his eyes burning with hatred as he leveled his weapon at Michael. "Did you really think you could keep me from my prize, human?" he snarled, his finger tightening on the trigger. All hell broke loose as the two sides opened fire, energy beams crisscrossing the corridor in a deadly dance of light. Ghost vanished into the shadows, flanking the enemy with his stealth skills, while Tank charged forward, his massive frame shrugging off the Xindi's shots as he returned fire with devastating accuracy. In the chaos of the firefight, Doc slipped away, following a strange energy signature that seemed to be emanating from the heart of the ship. She found herself in a vast chamber, dominated by a massive, pulsating energy core that bathed the room in an otherworldly glow. "The source of the dreadnought's power," she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Wesen, spotting Doc's discovery, broke away from the fight, racing towards the energy core with a manic gleam in his eyes. Michael, seeing the Xindi's intentions, charged after him, tackling Wesen to the ground just before he could reach the core. The two leaders grappled on the floor, trading blows with a ferocity that belied the exhaustion of their long journey. As they fought, Wesen let out a mocking laugh, his voice dripping with disdain. "You humans think you're so special," he sneered, his fists pummeling Michael's face. "But the Xindi have been watching you, studying you. We know your weaknesses and we will exploit them. Your species is nothing more than a footnote in the history of the galaxy, a primitive race that dared to reach beyond its station." Michael, his vision blurred by blood and sweat, felt a surge of anger course through him. He thought of Earth, of the billions of lives that depended on him and his team. With a roar of defiance, he summoned the last of his strength and threw Wesen off him, sending the Xindi crashing into a nearby console. Wesen slumped to the ground, his eyes glazed and unfocused. Michael stood over him, his chest heaving with exertion, as the rest of Omega Squad entered the chamber, their weapons trained on the fallen Xindi. "We may be primitive in your eyes," Michael said, his voice cold and hard, "but we will fight to our last breath to protect our people and the galaxy we call home. You underestimated us, Wesen. That was your mistake." With the immediate threat neutralized, Omega Squad regrouped, tending to their wounds and surveying the chamber that housed the Dreadnought's energy core. They knew that their mission was far from over, that the secrets of this ancient warship could hold the key to the fate of the entire galaxy. As they began to explore the Dreadnought's mysteries, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something far greater than themselves. The Xindi had been watching humanity, viewing them as a threat to their dominance. But Omega Squad would show them and the rest of the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. The real battle was only just beginning. As Omega Squad pushed deeper into the heart of the Dreadnought, an unsettling silence fell over the ancient corridors. The pulsing lights that lined the walls seemed to flicker with a malevolent intent, casting eerie shadows that danced across the faces of the human operatives. Doc led the way, her scanner held aloft as she traced the energy signatures emanating from the ship's core. "We're getting close," she murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. "But these readings, they don't make sense. It's almost as if the Dreadnought is alive, its systems constantly evolving and adapting." Hacker, her fingers flying across her portable console, nodded in agreement. "The ship's logs are heavily encrypted, but I'm starting to piece together a picture of its origins, and it's not what we expected." As the team entered a vast circular chamber, the truth was finally revealed. The walls were lined with holographic displays, each one depicting a different reality, a different universe, and at the center of it all stood a towering structure, a pulsating mass of energy and technology that seemed to defy explanation. "The power core," Doc whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. "It's not just a source of energy, it's a quantum computer capable of manipulating reality itself." Hacker, her face pale and drawn, turned to Michael. "The Dreadnought, it wasn't built by some ancient alien race. It was created by humans from an alternate timeline. They had achieved technological singularity, and they set out to conquer the multiverse." Michael felt a chill run down his spine as he processed the implications of Hacker's words. The energy field that had torn Wesen's shuttle apart, the advanced technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics. It all made sense now. "They were stopped," Hacker continued, her voice trembling. "In their original timeline, a coalition of alien races banded together and defeated them. But they sent the Dreadnought here, to our universe, as a last-ditch effort to ensure their survival." As the team struggled to come to terms with the magnitude of this revelation, a holographic projection flickered to life before them. It was a man, his features strikingly similar to Michael's own, but with a hardness in his eyes that spoke of unimaginable trials and tribulations. "Elias Novak," the man said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Leader of the Ascendant, the ones who built this ship, and you, Michael Richardson, have been chosen to carry on our legacy." Michael felt a wave of confusion and anger wash over him. "Chosen? What the hell are you talking about?" Novak smiled, a cold, calculating expression that sent shivers down Michael's spine. "I've been watching you, Michael. You and your team. You have the strength, the vision, to carry out our grand plan, to reshape the multiverse in our image." Michael shook his head, his fists clenched at his sides. "You're insane. I won't be a part of your twisted schemes." But even as he spoke the words, Michael felt a flicker of doubt, a tiny voice in the back of his mind that whispered of the power he could wield, the worlds he could conquer. He glanced at his team, saw the fear and uncertainty in their eyes, and knew that he had to stay strong to resist the temptation that Novak offered. "The key to unlocking the Dreadnought's true potential lies within you, Michael," Novak said, his form beginning to flicker and fade. "Embrace your destiny and shape the future of the multiverse." With those final words, the hologram vanished, leaving Omega Squad alone in the vast chamber. the weight of countless universes resting upon their shoulders. Michael took a deep breath, his mind racing as he tried to process the enormity of the task before them. They had to stop the Ascendant's plan, to prevent the dreadnought from falling into the wrong hands. But to do that, they would need to unravel the mysteries of the ship, to find a way to harness its power without succumbing to the temptation that Novak had offered. As the team began to explore the chamber, searching for clues and answers, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The fate of the multiverse hung in the balance, and only they could tip the scales in favor of life and freedom. But the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, and Michael knew that every decision, every action, could mean the difference between victory and oblivion. He glanced at his team once more, saw the determination and resolve etched upon their faces, and knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For they were Omega Squad, the last line of defense against the darkness that threatened to engulf all of reality, and they would not fail, no matter the cost. As Michael stood in the vast chamber, the weight of Novak's revelation crashed down upon him like a tidal wave. He felt his world tilt on its axis as the truth sank in. He was the key to unlocking the dreadnought's power, the last piece of the puzzle that the alternate humans had left behind. Doc's scanner beeped urgently, drawing the team's attention. "Michael," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and fear, "your genetic code, it's a perfect match for Novak's. You're his direct descendant, and your DNA holds the secret to activating the quantum computer." Michael felt a chill run down his spine as he processed the implications of Doc's words. He was the only one who could stop the alternate human's plan, but to do so, he would have to make the ultimate sacrifice. "Omega Squad, listen up," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside him. "I need you to evacuate the dreadnought and return to the Council with the information we've gathered. I'm staying behind to initiate the self-destruct sequence." The team erupted in protest, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of emotion. "No way in hell," Tank growled, his massive frame trembling with anger. "We're not leaving you behind." But Michael silenced them with a look, his eyes blazing with a determination that brooked no argument. "This is my destiny," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I have to do this, for the sake of the galaxy, for the sake of every living being in the multiverse." Reluctantly, the team nodded, their faces etched with a mixture of sorrow and respect. As they filed out of the chamber, each one paused to clasp Michael's hand, their eyes conveying a silent message of gratitude and farewell. Michael watched them go, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he would never see them again. But he had a job to do, and he would see it through to the end. He made his way to the power core, his footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. As he approached the pulsating mass of energy, a final holographic message from Novak flickered to life before him. "I knew you would come, Michael," Novak said, his voice tinged with a hint of triumph. "I planned for this moment, for the day when you would take your rightful place as the true heir to the Ascendant." Michael's eyes narrowed as he realized the true extent of Novak's machinations. "What have you done?" he demanded, his voice tight with anger. Novak smiled, a cold, calculating expression that sent shivers down Michael's spine. "I planted a failsafe within your genetic code, Michael. The moment you activate the quantum computer, my consciousness will be transferred into your body, and together we will reshape the multiverse in our image." Michael felt a surge of revulsion and horror wash over him as he contemplated the fate that Novak had planned for him. But he would not let the alternate human leader win, not after everything he and his team had sacrificed. With a roar of defiance, Michael plunged his hand into the power core, his fingers closing around the activation switch. As the quantum computer hummed to life, he felt Novak's consciousness invade his mind, a searing pain that threatened to consume him entirely. But Michael fought back, his will battling against Novak's for control of his body and mind. In a final act of desperation, he managed to override Novak's influence long enough to send a message to Omega Squad. warning them of the impending danger and urging them to ensure that the knowledge of the dreadnought never fell into the wrong hands. As the warship began to tear itself apart, Michael felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He had done his duty, had given everything he had to protect the galaxy and the countless lives that depended on him. In his final moments, as the dreadnought exploded in a brilliant flash of light, Michael reflected on the sacrifices he had made, on the heavy burden of being human in a universe where their species was both feared and respected. But he knew that his legacy would live on, that Omega Squad would carry on the fight and ensure that his death had not been in vain. Omega Squad watched in silence as the remnants of the dreadnought drifted through the void of space, a somber reminder of the sacrifices that had been made. As they returned to the Council, hailed as heroes for their bravery and determination, they knew that the galaxy would never be the same. But even as the celebrations echoed through the halls of the Citadel, Omega Squad was left to grapple with the loss of their leader, with the knowledge that the universe was a far more complex and dangerous place than they had ever imagined. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.